everybody, I'm back with another Halloween themed movie review, and today I'll be covering the Disney Direct Let me try that again. Disney Movie Direct uh, to TV, uh, the Scream Team. Uh, Directed by Stuart Gillard, stars Mark Randall as Ian Carlisle, Kat Dennings as Claire Carlisle, the sister, uh, Robert Boxdale as Richard Carlisle, the father, Gary Ronek as Frank Carlisle, the grandfather, Tommy Davidson as Jumper, Kim Coates as Zachariah Null, or I keep wanting to say Null, like the Marvel character, Cole, Zachariah Cole, Eric Idle as Coffin Ed, and Kathy Najimy as Mariah. Now, I gotta say, I seen this movie quite a few times as a kid, but you know, yeah, I want to say we all got who grew up watching the Disney Halloween theme direct TV films growing up in the 90s into the early 2000s. And by and large, they're enjoyable films. Hell, they don't even have to be around Halloween. There's, quite a few ones like Smart House, that, holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. But I imagine there's a lot that people look at that seems like, okay, this did not work for me, and this somewhat worked for me, and this definitely worked for me. Smart House it falls in the camp of like, like kind of worked for me. Halloween Town definitely worked for me. Uh, uh, what was that skating? Not skating. Like yeah, it was definitely skating. It's called Brink or something like that. And Johnny Tsunami. Those were the ones that kind of, I seen them, but they fall in the camp of did not work for me. Scream Team falls in somewhat work for me because I love the Halloween aesthetic. It slide. I gave it like a pass because of that, and I have a huge crush of Kat Dennings. I still do. God, she's hot. Like, and she got those kind of sensibilities I find attractive in a woman. If you've seen Kat Dennings in like Two Broke Girls or hell anything, her, just the way she carries herself falls in those sensibilities I find very attractive in a woman. Just she could easily be goth if she wanted to be, and it will fit perfectly for her. But she just chooses not to, kind of thing. That's how I see it. Um, uh, but this film, the CGI. I mean, it's directed TV, but even still, it's like a lot of us use Halloween Town as like a barometer because although it has its moments of wonky CGI, but not a lot of it, at least not in the first couple of Halloween Town films. They still widely use practical effects. While here, you're dealing with ghosts, of course you have to use CGI, but even still, it's just like, I don't know, when in their spirit form they look like, splooge, for the lack of a better word. It's like just river slime, not river slime, but it's like that, just wavy, liquid. And it's like, I don't know, could just go for, you could have just went with gas, a gaseous form or something. I'm not sure. It is, I don't know. It's, and it all depends on which spirit you're dealing with, because they all, when they human forms, they just pale and somewhat like they got thrown into like a vat of forensic powder or something. I don't know, but I don't know. It is, and the comedy here is like Manny is hit and miss, but I'll get further into it in a minute. But please, before I get further into it, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you have seen the Scream Team before. What are your thoughts? I'm curious to know. So anyway, we're opening with watching a home video of this old man who recently passed away, Grandpa Carlisle. As the little kids are watching, it's kind of like I don't know, we all seen, I don't know, maybe it's just like, depends on the family, but I don't know, it's kind of like, I won't say poor taste. I mean, people grieve in different ways, but I just find it a little off-putting. It's like, you pick now, while the funeral, like, I won't say reception, but when, like, after the funeral, laying the body to rest and all that stuff is like out the way in their home, gathered together with family and friends, and they're eating and grieving and things of that sort. You choose that point to watch home videos of the guy that just passed, and I don't know, it seems like, I don't know, kind of weird. Maybe it's me. I mean, if you guys have done it before, let me know, because I don't know, I've never done that before. It's kind of like weird. You would think at the very least you wait till after all the guests are gone and you just watch an old tape, in relative privacy, or with just among immediate family or something. That's just me. But of course, the little boy's probably getting hit hardest with the grief, given how close he was to his grandfather, more so with his father. And looking back on it, because I remember watching this as a kid, I didn't give this kid enough crap like I probably should, given how, gotten older. It's like, wow, he's a lot more annoying than I remember. Or not annoying, but just kind of like not an idiot, but what's the proper word? Just not smart. He has smart moments, but it's just like, this kid, doesn't take like the proper steps to handle certain situations. We'll get to that example in a moment, but obviously the boy is just is racked with grief, and he just don't know how to process it properly. And the father, by a different aspect, handling grief in a different way. But I gotta give this movie this. It at least shows aspects, or at least gets you talking about aspects of how people handle grief differently, and what to go about handling it in a proper way. The father clearly didn't have like I want to say proper upbringing, but he wasn't necessarily close as he had liked to be with his father, because he didn't feel like his father appreciated any of his accomplishments, or didn't actively show or express that how much he liked the he loved his kid, and he felt like the son felt like he's always been kind of pushed away. So he has a slight strain in the relationship, I guess. We never see that initially. You only saw like how the kids interacted with the grandfather initially, which seems very more harmonious and filled with love and everything like that. It's always seemed like in these kind of films, it's always seemed like it's some kind of wacky invention somebody has to do. And it's typically either the kid or a grandfather. There's been occasions a parent might do it, but you know what I mean. It's just like there's always some kind of wacky invention that's got to be thrown in here, some capacity. I don't know why. At least in movies like this. Late at night, and this is only one time when I actually get like a good chuckle, is where like after, because this is a very Scooby-Doo level of shenanigans here. The small town that the grandfather lives at, that the family come visit to do the necessary arrangements, got this local legend about the ghost of Zachariah Cole, who legend has it had a wife, but it was during like some kind of like, I don't know, colonial period or something. I'm not sure, but I guess it's like during the same era as like the Salem witch trials, that particular era. And legend has it that Zechariah had a wife, but besides her, he had a love of fire. He apparently was a bit of a pyromaniac. And then legend has it, his wife was rumor was she was threatening to leave him, but not wanting her to leave him, he decides to burn down the cabin with her inside. He was put on trial, died. Now it's, rumor is his spirit roams the lands, and there's certain unexplained fires occurred throughout the years, and it's said that it was probably the ghost of Zechariah Cole. So now, when the kid's about to go to bed and the boy just want to lay in his grandfather's bed that night, the daughter is sitting there hiding underneath the bed and causing like a ruckus and freaking out the kid. I gotta check all of that, because like I would have done the same thing. It's like just to freaking out your sibling. But then a real spirit messes around and pours books on the ground. And Ian is convinced that his grandfather's spirit still is roaming the house. And of course, he finds this particular gadget, and him and his sister, in an attempt to try to capture their grandfather's spirit, they end up catching a ghost named Jumper, who him and his partner Coffin Ed, because Jumper, played by Tommy Davidson, is dressed as a we call it, like, base jumping or he's like a skydiver or something like that. Skydiver, who apparently, his chute didn't go off or whatever. So he, unlike Beetlejuice, where if it was Tim Burton, they would have him like flat as a pancake or something like that. Or, Coffin Ed, who was a Revolutionary War vet, probably should have been riddled with bullets or something, or musket balls or something. But they're just like, pale ghosts, died in the outfits that they died in, or wearing the outfits that they died in. And they're part of this, what they dubbed themselves the Soul Patrol, which is kind of weird given the fact that you title your movie The Scream Team. Why don't you call your partnership the Scream Team? Because if you're going with Soul Patrol, maybe it didn't test well with audience when you made this movie, and maybe you initially wanted to call this movie Soul Patrol, but I guess Scream Team had like a better ring to it, so they went with it. But why didn't you rework? If that is true, I'm not sure, but if that is true, why don't you write the dialogue for the characters to call themselves the Scream Team? It's just kind of like you gone with one or the other, but you try to have your cake and eat it too, and it just didn't match, at least in my eye. But they end up capturing Jumper in this little gizmo. But then ends up following the other partner, Coffin Ed, to these ruins on the outskirts of town, where it is basically like a way station for, I guess, nearby spirits in the vicinity of the town. I guess, I'm not sure. That finds a way here where they get, like I said, they're trying to do like a Beetlejuice level of a thing, because clearly after rewatching Beetlejuice and then the original Beetlejuice film, clearly Scream Team was trying to do something similar, but it does not work the same way. I don't know, you can just tell they got some inspiration from Beetlejuice, but there's nothing unique about these ghosts aside from the clothes that they died in. But there's, unlike Tim Burton, who put a lot more energy into his characters, because he has like a very unique mind where each character is not only wearing the outfits that they died in, but also shows vividly how they died in. Now, of course, this is a Disney direct movie, or direct to TV movie, so they couldn't really go, I won't say gory, but lack of a better word, they couldn't go gory with showing how these characters died, like, riddled with gunshots, or flattened out, or arms still attached to a baby shark or something. I'm not sure. It's just they can't get too crazy with it, but at the same time, I don't know, it seems, I guess this was the happy medium that they went with, because I imagine they would have wished they could have gone that far, but standards of practices, I guess they couldn't get because I guess this is PG, so they couldn't go too far with what they probably would like to. But anyway, they meet with Catherine Najimy's character Mariah, who is like a dead bride, not to be mistaken with Corpse Bride. That's a different thing that comes later, in years later. Who, her, Jumper, and Coffin Ed are pretty much heard and document each soul to try to get them to the afterlife via this window portal. And the way these souls enter, they gotta do some kind of like some type of thing in order to, like, this Asian guy has to bow as, I guess, like a goodbye thing they each gotta do. Another woman who's like a princess in a parade, who like does this like the celebratory wave thing. She does this thing as a goodbye. I'm not sure. It's like I can see where they're going with it. It just I don't know. It just doesn't click for me personally. It just seems like a gimmick that they tried to do to make themselves stand out, but it just for me did not work. I'm pretty sure for other people it worked for, so I can't really completely knock it. So the kids burst in, releasing Jumper, and are just astonished by the fact that they're in a room full of ghosts, but they ask Mariah like, "Hey, is our grandfather here?" Because we see his name in the books, but he never showed up. Because apparently, his soul has unfinished business, and so they end up making a deal. It's like, okay, we won't tell anybody about what's going on here as long as you allow our grandfather to complete his unfinished business before he passes on. Because clearly, this kid has technically unfinished business himself because he never, got his chance to say his goodbyes, and he just, because the grandfather kind of died suddenly, and the way how close he is, it kind of want to have the boy wants his own little closure himself, because the way he carries on, ignoring his father's orders and just doing his own little thing, ignoring most warnings and other stuff because he has one track mind. Because like, I wanted to help my grandfather, but he got a stupid way of going about it without using some kind of discernment because he's so gung ho about it. Given his age, not like he's a young kid, but he's like what 13, I'm assuming around this point, and the daughter is probably like going 15, 16 at this point. So he's still pretty immature. So as they see the grandfather spirit in the house trying to commune, and it's like grandfather just smiles like an idiot without actually trying to say something, in comes the ghost of Zachariah stealing the soul and dipping off, which freaks out the kids. And now they need help from the Scream Team. I'm just going to call them the Scream Team because I ain't calling it Soul Patrol because you title the movie Scream Team, and I'm just going to go with that. They try to go to the Scream Team in order to get their help in order to stop Zachariah to release their grandfather's spirit, because Zachariah was also a name that there hasn't been pass away station. And so they tried to track down using help, used the help of Ed and Jumper, tracking down the location where Zachariah's house probably used to have been. Oh, by the way, there's also some idiot townsfolk that had a bitter rivalry with the grandfather. He plays like a weird and kind of sort of antagonistic idiot. I'll bring him up every once in a while, but he's really non-existent in my eyes. Honestly, could just taken this guy out entirely. Whatever. But anyway, they end up going to this mine shaft, where they track down where Zachariah's holding up and find this pit where he dumps all these souls, where he absorbs their life essence. While trying to absorb Zachariah through the machine that they absorb Jumper through, it goes haywire. Zachariah is released. He ends up stealing like the spirit of Jumper, while Ed and the kids manage to make their escape. Of course, they end up getting in trouble with the law and their father when they try to explain things. Of course, nobody believes them. So the sister plays it smart because like I said, it's a very Scooby-Doo level stuff, but you know, this kid would not work well even with Scooby-Doo, because the sister smartly wants to do some research in order to figure out, and given the fact these ghosts, what they deal with, I get it. This movie's played for kids at the son's age, but even still, it's like you're a ghost, adult ghost at that. So you guys would be more inclined to go side with Claire on this one, where you want to do some research in order to track down this ghost, in order to better understand the ghost before you track him down, in order to figure out a way to capture him, so you can put a stop to his shenanigans. This is basic Scooby-Doo stuff. And they choose not to do it. They want to go in guns blazing. Like, who cares about his motivation? He's an evil spirit. Let's just take him down. And maybe that works for younger kids mostly. They're smart, intelligent young kids that probably would have said the same thing as I'm saying. But by and large, there's probably young kids that's like, yeah, let's just go get the bad ghost. Good, bad, there's no morally gray thing. But there is, which I give credit to this movie, where it's like, no, there's no simple black and white thing. There's some morally gray stuff with this spirit that the daughter wants to figure out. There's more to it, to this mystery, than what it is on the surface. Because, yes, we need to stop this spirit, but we need some information. So they discovered there's some books that was in their grandfather's care that was donated by the father to the local library, which was stolen by this old man. Like I said, they had like a rivalry with the grandfather, who was at the funeral, or at least the reception thing earlier in the film, trying to sift through the grandfather's belongings, trying to find these books that was in the grandfather's possession. And so the kids end up sneaking inside the guy's house and stealing it. And thanks with the help of their father, who doesn't like the idea of his children breaking and entering and things of that sort, and disobeying him, but he still listens to his kids, and seeing how earnestly they've been given this, that it's like, okay, clearly there's something is up for them to go this far, so I'm going to help you guys doing this the right way. So they go through this, and they realize that Zechariah isn't the monster that this old man and the townsfolk led us to believe. Apparently, he was an inventor, and one of his inventions kind of literally blew up in his face and caused the death of his wife, which the townsfolk back in the day accused him of actively doing and put him to death. And his spirit lingered to seek revenge on the townsfolk for wrongly, executing him. So he's been gathering up souls all these years to finally kind of, I guess, reconstitute himself to exact his revenge. During this Halloween bash, because of course the climax had to happen on the Halloween bash. It's kind of like with those Christmas Hallmark or just Christmas rom-com movies in general, where like the climax have to come at the day of Christmas kind of thing. It kind of has to. It's one of those cliches that it has to be a must, that despite how cringy it can be, it is a necessary must. But anyway, the father and daughter approached the spirit and while scaring off the townsfolk by throwing fireballs and everything like that, he shows this old newspaper clipping of the wife and the daughter's asking like, how long you gonna make her wait? She's still waiting for you. And this kind of calms his spirit because he's been fueled with vengeance and anger. He failed to keep his promise to his wife that he wanted her to wait for him, and she's been waiting inside the mirror though. But I guess it's supposed to represent like the afterlife on the other side. But I don't. He finally allows the spirit to rest and goes in the mirror to greet his wife. Now, as a kid, I always thought like this dude's going to hell, isn't he? Because like he caused a lot of havoc, and you know, as a spirit, not sure that much during his life, but looking back as an adult, it's like, well, he wasn't bad in his life. He just like was a restless spirit that kind of caused kind of local calamity, and the only danger he put anybody through is mostly towards other spirits. So I'm not sure that he will end up going to hell for that, because he kind of was like a good person during life. So I guess you can argue it makes sense that he would cross over with his wife to the afterlife, assuming it's heaven. But it's like, as a kid, I was like, man, this dude should be going to hell, shouldn't he? It was like, man, no. I'm probably thinking too much on it, but it seems like, yeah, looking back, it's like, nah, he seems like was a good guy that was misunderstood during life. So he probably wouldn't have gone to hell because he wasn't horrible like people said he was. So now that all the spirits that Zachariah captured is released, a lot of them are able to cross over. Jumper and Mariah, who tried to help at some point but ends up captured herself, is released. And as the kids and the father finally went home, the spirit of the grandfather is there, and finally had this kind of one-on-one talk with the son, where it's like he apologizes for not like expressing his true feelings, because he kind of wrongly kept his son at a distance, trying to get him to go out, see the world, don't be glued to the hip at me, kind of thing, because he didn't want to feel like he didn't want his son to feel like he has to be tied down to this town. He wanted him to see the world because he was a very bright kid, but he probably didn't handle it the best way or express it the best way, and he tells his son, like, I don't want you to repeat my mistakes to your kids. And now, before he passes over, he wants to have at least a couple of hours to speak with his son to actually get some stuff off each other's chest and like say their proper goodbyes this time around. The movie ends with Mariah kind of freaking out because the fact that since Zachariah did that crazy display, because they try to keep a lid on ghostly activities, now her bosses on the other side are not too pleased with that fact, despite them containing the situation in the end. The fact that proof of ghostly stuff got out there, it doesn't look good. So the Scream team have to, instead of because her retirement was coming up soon, but now she has to stay in this way station position for an extended period of time, which kind of freaks her out, and like she's kind of salty at this point. And the kids are staying in town indefinitely, because the father wanted to reconnect to his roots, so they get to hang out with the Scream team. I imagine there was probably talks of a possible sequel, seeing these kids hang out with these ghosts for more adventures, but I think one and done movie is enough. This is a fun movie to show your kids, but uh, and it has its moments. By and large, I don't enjoy it in the same degree as like I did with like Halloween Town or Don't Look Under the Bed, or even like I did with Smart House. Matter of fact, I recently did last week. I did a movie review of Twitches, which as a kid I didn't really like get into, but as I watched it and now comparing it to this, it's like, man, even Twitches did a little bit better than this movie, and it's on like the below average of enjoyment for me, but it's not horrendous. I do say that it's not horrendous. It's it's just like a pleasant little film to watch with your kids. But yeah, the effects are kind of like crap, and the themes of grief. I mean, like you can extrapolate from that and what it's trying to handle in terms of how people handle grief differently, and I think it handles that nicely. Uh, I mean, the actors are giving their all, especially the kids. You can see like Kat Dennings' uh, skills as an actor, budding before our eyes, as it kind of just blossom years down the line as she got into other stuff. So yeah, I mean, uh, uh, it has its moments, but by and large, I mean, like uh, the it's just the facts and some of the plot is just kind of lackluster for me. Um, but yeah, that was the Screen Team. Next week, as next week, uh, it's something I've been holding on to for at least a year that I want to talk about it this year. I want to leave it as a surprise. Another 2 sets of film I want to cover next week. I think. Let me see something. Not 2 next week. Another set of 2 the following week, and I think the final week of October, I'll be covering 3 movies in one. Before we wrap up the Halloween themed movie reviews. Before we get into the month of Thanksgiving, as I'll be covering a lot of like at least some food related films, and another dealing with like family. Given us Thanksgiving, it's all about food and family. I think movies about that in particular would be good to cover. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit for like a fun video I wanted to do. I've been waiting for this day to do it, but I'll leave it as a surprise. But it's relatively quick, but it's going to be fun. But anyway, thank you all for joining me. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Disney Channel movie, The Screen Team. Have you rewatched it recently? What are your thoughts? Curious to know. And I'll see you all soon. Peace.